to update our viewers on the UN Security Council meeting slated at 11 p.m. here in Cairo, 2100 hours GMT. We are delighted and honored to have with us via Zoom Mr. Stephane Dujarric. He is the official spokesperson for the United Nations Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres. Monsieur Dujarric, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ahmad. Pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Monsieur Dujarric. So, the United Nations Security Council will be holding a meeting at 2100 hours GMT. First, the reaction, the United Nations reaction to the strikes, the initiated strikes by the United States and Israel without the authorization of the UN Security Council. How do you describe these strikes?
Well, Ahmad, yes, indeed. The Secretary General, I think, has been very clear in condemning the military escalation we have seen today. And I think if you look at the use of force by the United States and Israel against the Islamic Republic of Iran and the subsequent military action by the Islamic Republic of Iran against other countries in the region, countries which did not participate in the initial attack, and that is Kuwait, Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, we've seen Jordan and Syria. All of these
Bahrain as well,
undermine international peace and security. And we are very concerned about potential escalation, and as you mentioned, not only militarily, but economic.
Right. So, Monsieur Dujarric, this meeting has been also called for by France, Bahrain, and Colombia. Russia's representative and the Chinese representative also asked for an emergency meeting. What shall we expect from this UN Security Council session?
Well, first of all, you can expect the Secretary General, who will open up the session, to be very clear, basically on what I've just outlined, and also on the need for both parties to return immediately to the negotiating table. We saw the discussions last week in Geneva, hosted by Oman, between the Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States. The messages were rather positive, or at least not negative. It's never too late to return to the table. And what we would like to see is a common call for a return to diplomacy, and a common call to respect the Charter of the United Nations, which clearly outlaws the use of force or the threat of the use of force without prior authorization from the Security Council. We are, exhausted by the trampling of international law that we've seen.
Right, but a return to diplomacy would require both parties, as you said, or at least the U.S. and Israel from one side and Iran from the other side, to agree to return to diplomacy. Now, Oman, the main mediator in the prior days and weeks, had expressed its frustration at the strike because it said that negotiations were moving ahead. Yet this strike came. So, and we've been hearing voices from Cairo, from Riyadh, calling for political settlement and negotiations. But so isn't the ball mainly in the U.S. and Israeli court, or do you think the ball is also in the Iranian court, Monsieur Dujarric?
Listen, the ball is in the court of all of those involved in this conflict, and the region as a whole has to be involved, because the region as a whole is also carrying the risk. Diplomacy takes time. Diplomacy takes courage. And so that's what we need to see from the leaders here. It is not too late. And the risks of further fighting, the risk of miscalculation, right, from either side continue to be great.
Right. Now, I have a question, Monsieur Dujarric, again, about the fact that the United States has not gone to the United Nations, is acting without the authority of the UN Security Council. Do you think that the UN Security Council can influence the Trump administration, because we don't know what's the end goal. I mean, Mr. Trump talked about the Iranian nuclear program, and then the Iranian ballistic program, and then he talked about weakening the Iranian Navy, and then he talked about weakening the Iranian regime, and then toppling the Iranian regime, and then asking the Iranian people to go to the streets and overtake institutions. So do we know where the end game is, and what's the limit of the influence that the UN Security Council can play with the Trump administration?
Well, the Secretary General doesn't know what the end game is because we didn't start this game, and I don't use that word with pleasure, right? We didn't start this military action. The end game for us is a return to peace, a return to dialogue, a return to the Iran nuclear program being put under working closely with the IAEA for Iran to meet its obligations with the IAEA. Let's not forget that. But it is not just the Security Council, and we know what divisions exist in the Security Council, but there are countries in the region and beyond that have privileged relations with the United States, with Israel, with the Islamic Republic of Iran. There can be bilateral pressure as well, bilateral encouragement to return to the table. I mean, I think we can only salute the efforts of Oman in this regard, in what they have tried to do. As I said, it can never be too late to return to the negotiating table.
Okay. And Monsieur Dujarric, I have a question about Gaza, if you will allow me. How does the United Nations see the developments of the situation in Gaza, the second phase of Mr. Trump's peace plan, of course, the ceasefire that started after the Sharm el-Sheikh summit here in October, and the ongoing Israeli violations of the ceasefire, impeding the arrival of humanitarian aid, killing Palestinians day in and day out, Palestinians dying from hunger, from cold. I wonder what does the UN think about the progress of the situation in Gaza, and what does the UN think about Mr. Trump's Board of Peace, if you will allow me?
Okay, that's quite a few things in that one question, Ahmad. Listen, we continue to express our concern about the situation in Gaza, even before what happened today. That we are using every inch that has been given to us in order to deploy more humanitarian aid. The situation is better, but not as good as it could be in terms of the aid that we're able to get in. I'm very worried. I saw just before coming on the air here with you an announcement from the Israeli authorities that they had closed all of the crossing, including Rafah, for the time being. That is not good news for the people of Gaza. On the Board of Peace, the Board of Peace, in relation to its work in Gaza, has been approved by the Security Council, so we are working with them in terms of the work in Gaza, right? We need to be very clear on that, and only in the terms of the work in Gaza. We very much hope that Phase 2 will be fully implemented, and listen, we need to return to a political horizon of a two-state solution, which today I realize seems so far away, right?
Why is it so far away, Monsieur Dujarric, in your personal opinion? You're a former journalist as well. So, I mean, you must have an opinion on it. Why is the two-state solution so far away? You've heard countries like Egypt, a cornerstone of stability here in the region, for decades saying that the only path to a just and lasting peace is a two-state solution, a viable independent Palestinian state, borders June 4th, 67.
Because we all know what a one-state solution would look like. We seem very far away because you just need to look at the situation in Gaza, but you look at the situation in the West Bank with the expansion of settlements, the almost daily violence of settlers, of Israeli settlers against Palestinian civilians. None of this is bringing us closer to the solution that Egypt understands it needs to be, as well as the Secretary General and many others, based on numerous Security Council resolutions.
So we can say, finally, can we say that the United Nations supports the Egyptian vision and the vision of many countries here in the region, like Saudi Arabia, like Turkey, that the two-state solution with borders of June 467 and East Jerusalem, the capital of a viable independent Palestinian state, is the path to just and lasting peace. Can we say that?
I mean, listen, if you look at the speeches made by Attorney Guterres since he got into office, he has continued to advocate and will continue to advocate for a negotiated two-state solution. To tell you the matter, I have time for one more question because my boss is waiting for me.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate it, really. We appreciate your precious time. Monsieur Stephane Dujarric, the official spokesperson for the United Nations Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres. Monsieur Dujarric, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.